Hey, welcome everybody to the Max Show, where we expose the secrets of badass entrepreneurs all over the world. This is Massive Abundance Exposed. My name is Chris Stafford, and do we have an amazing entrepreneur for you today? I cannot wait to interview Mariela Dabbah. She is with the Red Shoe Movement. She is starting a whole worldwide movement to empower women. So you definitely got to check that out at redshoemovement.com. She also is releasing a book that is coming out. She's already written it in Spanish, and the English version is coming out, which is Find Your Inner Red Shoes, which I think is just cool. I just love it. I love it. Their symbol is a red stiletto. How can you not love that? But listen, I'm looking forward to getting started with this interview. But before we do, make sure you go to massiveabundance.co. You know, shameless plug, sign in, get some free goodies, and let's get on with the show. Welcome to the Max Show, everybody. And believe it or not, we have Mariela Dabbah in the house. How are you doing, Mariela?
Good. Awesome being here with you today.
Oh, listen, I am just so happy that you're here joining us because you have so many fun and exciting things that you are working with. You are starting a whole worldwide movement. And not only that, as I've said in the show notes, you're also the author of 7 books. My number one question is, how do you have the time to do all this?
Well, that's a question I have myself many times. I think you just keep organized in a way. You know, when the biggest thing is like when I'm writing, I'm writing.
Right.
So I'll carve a particular time of the day, usually early in the morning, and that's the first thing I do. And like right now I'm writing a novel, so my time is dedicated to writing fiction in the morning. But the moment that I start with a new project, a new book, that's what I do. I focus on that. I put everything else on suspense, and other people take care of it. And you know, I can immerse myself in the research and in the writing. It's the only way in which you can do it all.
I love it. You know, you're talking exactly about block time, and that's one of the things that I talk to my clients about all the time. It sounds like you're the master of it, but just really prioritizing and blocking out chunks of time where you're just going to focus on that. That's truly amazing. But listen,
far from being an expert on it, though.
Well, listen, I want to get into what you're doing here, which I just think is phenomenal here with your movement, the Red Shoe Movement. Tell us a little bit about your background and how did that lead into Red Shoes, and how did that lead into this sort of worldwide movement that you're starting?
Well, I have a master's degree in philosophy and literature from the University of Buenos Aires, and I've been in this country for over 20 years. And I was writing books that deal with success in the U.S., mostly for Latinos. That was my path, and education, career development, empowerment. And for the last few years, I've been working mostly in professional development in corporations, working specifically with women. So I thought it was about time for me to focus on women, just having like a conversation with them that would allow us to discuss some issues that we really that affect us more than they affect men in general. And so this book came about. It came out in Spanish first. Penguin published it last year in Spanish, and and now it's out in English. Find Your Inner Red Shoes. And I was looking for an icon to put on the cover that women will immediately associate with power and success, with femininity, where we didn't have to, leave on the side who we are to become powerful. And so I came up with the red stilettos because I think that a lot of us could immediately connect with that image. And so I didn't want to just have a book about the topic. I wanted women to feel that they can own this issue, this very important issue for us, which is advancing in our careers and reducing that gap, in terms of being up there in the decision-making positions. So I launched the Red Shoe Movement, Women Supporting Women for Career Success. And for some reason, it resonated very quickly, and people became passionate about it. And the first reaction from anybody who hears it is, oh my God, I need to go buy a pair of red shoes, which just tells you, it gives you something that you can immediately do something about this topic and where you stand with this topic.
That's great. I mean, I love that. Now, do men have any place in this movement?
Yes, of course. Men wear red, our allies, we call them. They wear red ties and red socks. Some of them wear the red sneakers.
Uh-huh.
And, the visual cue that we use to keep this conversation top of mind is we do Red Shoe Tuesdays. So that's when women wear the red shoes to work, men wear the red ties. And, of course, there are variations of it because I was having conversations with some clients who are in financial industries, and they were saying, look, we're in a very conservative industry. Women are not going to be able to come in and wear red shoes to work. How can we do this and still embrace it, still bring the red shoe movement as a professional development program within our corporation? And so I told them, look, we have our red shoe charms, which is our signature charm, and we give them out at events and, when people participate with us on Facebook and Twitter and so forth. And they can wear the red shoe charms on the bracelets and or necklaces or whatnot on Tuesdays and wear it with pride and say, look, I'm wearing my red shoe charm today because it's Tuesday.
I love it. I love it. Now, this is really interesting to me because you have a new book coming out, and it's going to be coming out very soon. And again, that is Find Your Inner Red Shoes. And I believe you've already written it, but it's coming out in English. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was published last year in Spanish. I wrote it in Spanish because Penguin wanted to first publish it in Spanish for the Spanish-speaking Latin American population here in the States and in Latin America. That was part of the reason why doing a lot of the media, CNN for Latin America and so forth, people from all over the world saw it right away and it took off so quickly. So it's coming out, it's almost like an adaptation of the book in English because there's some things that we've changed.
That's great. Can you show us the cover? I love the cover of it. Do you have the book right there?
Yes, this is the book.
I love it. I love it. I mean, how can you, man or woman, how can you not love red stilettos?
I know, and this is the Spanish edition.
In the Spanish edition.
You see there, it's the same book. We just added in the English edition, we already added the logo for the Red Shoe Movement. And we adapted also the title of the book to reflect what's happening. The Red Shoe Movement just took off. We didn't know that we were going to have to already put something in the title for people to identify it.
I love it. That's great. Mariela, one of the things that is really interesting to me is because many of our viewers are aspiring entrepreneurs. Many of them are women, and we have a ton of realtors on board. And so I do a lot of consulting with realtors myself. And, in the realtor, across the board, across the country, I think, there are a lot of real estate agents that are mostly women. So I don't necessarily associate women realtors having to be empowered. And is there any particular segment, or is it just across the board where women in any kind of business field anywhere across the board can really benefit from this movement?
I think it's for anybody across the board. We use a methodology that we call two-way empowerment methodology. And in our events, we have events that we do, we call them signature events. We do them at a venue and people come and they get a ticket and, they come as a professional development conference. And then we do professional development within corporations. So all the time what we do is we try for women who are at different levels of their careers to work with people who are in the opposite end of that career so that they can do mutual mentoring. So for women who are in an industry where there's a lot of women, like in real estate, they might need to work with a younger generation or with students or with early career women in corporations and help them by showing them and sharing some tools. How do you negotiate? I mean, people in the who are realtors are great negotiators. That's a skill that not a lot of women have, crafted so well. So how about sitting down with some of the women who are in other industries and starting to share some of those secrets that made you a very successful realtor, for example. And if you're working in commercial real estate, you're working with different people in different corporations and different companies, and that can help you establish also this two-way mentorship with other women.
That's great. Now, you are a corporate speaker. You are a corporate consultant. You're an amazing, prolific author. Tell me this, though. You have met so many women all in this country, all across the board. I don't mean to be a little bit, I don't know what's the word I'm looking for, but what are the type of women or what is the type of behavior that you find in women that just really frustrates you or challenges you?
I think that what I see a lot happening with women is that we kind of move throughout our careers with a certain inertia that comes from, you chose certain path and you just walk it, and you're in a place where you might not be as satisfied with your career as you could be, but you don't question it. So I think that being able to question where you are, why you are there, if you're not 100% satisfied with what you're doing, and trying to find an option for where you're at. And sometimes that just, that option, that new path takes place by you sitting down and doing a little bit of exploration. Because the way my book starts is by identifying the fact that we're born into a certain family, in a certain situation, in a certain, historical and socioeconomic situation. And so we're born into certain mandates. Then you add to that all those messages we receive as we're growing up. And, they make up for a concoction that you're living inside, and you don't realize that you're living inside of it. So, for example, I was born into a family of professionals where it was a given that I was going to go to college. However, my father was very macho, and so he was very clear that my brother had to be a doctor, just like my father and my grandfather. But he didn't care about what his daughters studied. They had to go to college, but we could pick whatever we wanted, because the bottom line was we were going to get married and have children. So that was the unspoken mandate, right? So now I'm a teenager, I'm graduating high school, I have no idea what to study because I received no guidance, right? So I take a leap year to go and explore. And in the end, I go back to college to study philosophy and literature because I was a writer since I'm 9 years old and I didn't know anything else that I could do. And so I study writing, and I go into a school to study writing. However, what are the potential career outcomes of a writer? You go back to school and you teach. And I didn't want to do that. So see, you're carrying with you this decisions that were made by others without you knowing and without your input. So I think that one of the things that frustrates me in a way more is to realize that women are not questioning where they are. If they're not happy, they're not questioning what might have put them in that path and what they could do to change that path.
Interesting. So do you think that there is more of a social stigma with women maybe in America in terms of their being able to question where they're at and why they're not advancing or why they're not feeling empowered?
No, I don't think it's a stigma. I just think that, we were raised a certain way, and obviously different generations and different cultures and different ethnicities and, different regions of the country, they have different experiences. But what I'm saying is that you were raised in a certain way, and mandates affect men as well. And when I say mandates, I don't want this to be understood as a negative. There are mandates, like, for example, the understanding that if you come from a family of entrepreneurs, you're going to be an entrepreneur. Or the understanding that if you're born and your family has a very successful real estate business, you're going to continue building that business. Like, you'd be stupid to study art if you have a business that's it's going to guarantee a good life for you, right? Right. So those mandates, they're positive. They want you to be successful. But that might not align with what you feel success is for you. Therefore, define your inner red shoe. It's find your inner knowledge, that inner information that only you have about what it is that you want. What are your dreams for yourself? Where do you want to go with it? And try to put them out there so then you can align some people who can help you get to those dreams and some tools to get you walk that path.
That's great. I love that. Find your inner red shoe. I love that. That is great.
And that's what it's all about. It's not just a gimmick. Yes, the red shoe is a symbol for finding that style. And it's very important in the book, the style. What is style? It's like, the idea is I've interviewed a lot of women and some of them very public figures. And I tell people right at the beginning of the book, don't try to imitate anybody in this book. You cannot imitate my style of success. I cannot imitate Oprah's style of success, right? I could take from her what I think I could apply or adapt or adjust, but I cannot do it in her style. I can only do it in my own style.
I love that. Now, have you come across any backlash or pushback from men who don't want to see this or feel threatened by finding your inner red shoe?
I think a lot of the men who have comments on this may have commented on the fact that the red shoe might be an icon that also represents the opposite to what I'm trying to represent, which is this is what men want women to wear, so that this is their idea of what makes them women sexy.
Yeah.
So they're like taking it in a completely different direction, right?
Right.
But I think more and more we're seeing men who realize that having a strong partner in business and at home makes for a better life for themselves.
Sure.
Because, all the studies show that when you get more women at the highest positions, the work environment becomes better for everybody. They're not going to make improvements just for themselves.
Right.
If women being at the top come up with great policies for maternity leave, they're going to come back with paternity leave. If they come with policies for more flexibility in the workplace, men are also going to enjoy the flexibility. And so there are a lot of men who are noticing that.
Interesting. That's really interesting. To switch gears a little bit, I saw a great TED Talk by, I don't know if you saw Brene Brown, and she is a psychologist down in Texas, and she's talking about how women are more empathetic, and that because women are more empathetic than men, that they actually can do better in business, because being more empathetic, putting yourself in your client's shoes, can allow you to provide better service, sometimes be a better negotiator. What do you think about that? I mean, do you think that can work against you, though?
I think that is one of the advantages that women bring to the table, and studies have shown that is also one of the reasons why organizations who have women leaders and who have more women in the C-suite do really well, because we live in a globally connected world, and empathy is a very basic aspect of getting along with people from other cultures in other ends of the world where you have no idea, where they're coming from in terms of, they're negotiating something or they want something. How do you sit at a table with somebody who comes with a completely different set of values? Empathy is actually a wonderful door opener for understanding others.
I love it. That's great. That is terrific. Now, let me ask you this question, because I love asking this question of entrepreneurs, and you are just amazing in terms of the energy that you put out and what you're trying to do with this movement. I'm so impressed with it. But what's like maybe the biggest challenge or the biggest failure that you had, like all of us entrepreneurs have had? What is yours, and how did you overcome it?
I think there's several. Number one, the fact that entrepreneurs have a completely different timetable than a big corporation, which usually is the client of a lot of entrepreneurs. So my clients are, the sponsors of the Red Shoe movement, whether it's for internal training or for conferences. And I have a certain timetable. I have events to produce. I have them already on the schedule. I have an infrastructure to support and so forth. But the decision-making process in a corporation is much slower than my decision-making process, correct? And it goes through to many more layers of that decision-making. And I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs face. And it's like, they're taking so long to make decisions, and my funds are draining in the meantime because I have to continue going. So that's one big challenge. And the other big challenge that I'm particularly facing is the release of Sheryl Sandberg's new book, Lean In, which on the one hand has been a fantastic bonanza for this topic to be top of mind. And I'm hoping that now with her power behind it, we will really move the needle on female representation.
You can leverage off that maybe.
She's having that power to keep the conversation up and not let it go flat again.
Exactly.
However, because the media tends to have, a very short attention span, a lot of the media are responding to publicists' pitches for women empowerment books with, oh, we've already discussed that. We've already had Sheryl on the show.
Right.
So that's kind of a sad situation right now, which has nothing to do with Sheryl Sandberg herself, who never intended this to be the case. On the contrary, right? It has to do with, okay, if this is the media's reaction, maybe what we need is to generate more demand from the viewers of that media, saying, no, we're not done with that topic. We want more of that topic. Don't go back to your traditional male-oriented topics or generic conversations that are not so empowering.
Right.
And I think that when the public demands it, then the media will change their ways.
I love it. I love it. I love your energy and your passion, because one of the things I talk about all the time, and with my book and everything, is the passion. You have to have the passion there. And you obviously have this very strong passion. What is the greatest benefit to you when you see the light go off in women's eyes? What is it that you experience when you know that you're being successful?
Oh, it's just like a dream, That's kind of the most satisfying part of my job, when I receive either in person or letters or emails of women saying how having been in touch with the Red Shoe movement has changed their lives. And it's only been out there for a short period of time, so I can only imagine what's going to happen in the next few years. But from the group that helps put together this event, we have what we call a Red Shoe Movement Ambassadors School. And the first 6 women who were our senior ambassadors and helped put together the New York City launch, which was at the New York Times, every single life of that group of women has been changed dramatically. So from getting promotions at their jobs to realizing that they needed to change tracks at their jobs, so they went from HR to communications, to opening up their own blogs because they were working in the fashion industry in an analytic capacity, and they decided to open a blog on fashion, to moving from being a paralegal in a law firm to becoming an event planner. I mean, the impact has been tremendous, and it's only been, since we launched this major event, they worked at it for only 6 months together.
That's great. That's great. What do you like to do? I mean, you do so many different things. Like I said, you consult to corporations, you speak, you have these meetings. What's your favorite thing? What's your favorite aspect of the business?
I love to work in the media. I'm a media contributor, so I do segments in the media, and I love public speaking. That's like my passion. I never called myself a motivational speaker. Because I think, to me, the stigma is that if you're a motivational speaker, you're just motivating people for the 5 minutes or half an hour of your talk, and then, to me, as an audience member, when I listen to somebody, when that happens, there's a high and a low. It's like you're excited for a couple of hours after the speech, and then it just kind of dissolves. I
agree.
I like to be more of somebody who is helping you open up your mind and take action about some of the things you've heard that have touched you in a way that you can make a change in your life. So. But I love that part. I love public speaking.
Well, and actually, and what you are as a teacher. Isn't that really what it comes down to? You're trying to teach this?
In a way, yes.
I love it. That's great. So tell me this, Mariela, what is the next big thing for the Red Shoe movement? What's the next big thing that you're really super excited about?
Well, we are doing 2 events towards the end of the year, and then next year we're going to have several events in different cities across the United States. So we're putting the Red Shoe movement on steroids, and we're taking it on the show on the road. And we're hoping to also implement many professional development programs within corporations, which is going to be really fascinating because now you're transferring this enormous engagement that people feel with the Red Shoe movement. We're transferring that energy into the different organizations, which is what people want, because they need to be able to retain their employees and promote them and really get them engaged in their jobs. So the idea of transferring this energy within an organization, it's very appealing to me.
I would now, what are you doing actually at the events, briefly?
The events are very different from any professional development event you've been to, because there are no speakers. I wasn't even a keynote speaker at the launch event in New York City. What we do is we do mutual empowering circles where people discuss in a group several different topics, but we ask guests to wear 2 different hats during the event, to be an expert and to be an explorer in 2 different parts of the event and in 2 different topics. So at any time, every single person who came felt empowered to share some of their knowledge and their information. Unlike a lot of events where there's only 1 speaker or a few speakers and then everybody else is listening and learning and maybe asking a question at the end, which I think is like very unidirectional.
Right.
I don't believe in unidirectional anything. I
Mm-hmm.
think every relationship is about two people empowering each other and exchanging knowledge, information, insights, etc.
That's great. So it sounds like it's very interactive then.
It is extremely interactive, and you know, the biggest complaint we got from the event is that they didn't have enough time to do the mutual mentoring circles, because there's only so much you can do at an evening event where, you know, people are only going to come after work and you can't keep them out after 9. So we had them really do these conversations in half an hour, and then we did the best red shoe competition, which is going to be a part of our signature at every event.
Oh, so is that the coolest red shoe?
Oh my God. At the events, it's always going to be the coolest red shoe, and we have a voting process leading to the event. But when we bring this internally in corporations, the best red shoe is going to be the person who is voted that gave more value to the circle where they worked.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Listen, Mariela, in closing, I always like asking this one question, and that is, you have in front of you right now, you have a brand new realtor, you have a brand new entrepreneur that wants to start a business, or maybe she's been in business for 2 or 3 years and she really wants to ramp up her business, and you can give her one piece of advice. What would you say to her?
I would say to her, try to tap into a network of established realtors, men and women, who are very successful, and try to pick their brains about what they have learned in the last 10, 20 years in their careers that would make you successful. And then try to adapt their advice to what you think would work for you. And bring yourself to every single one of the meetings where you go to. Bring yourself to every conversation with your clients. Because the truth is that the clients, yes, they're buying a house, but they're buying you first. So if they have not bought into you, they're not going to hire you to get them to their next home. That
is terrific. That is great. And to find your inner red shoe.
Exactly. Find your inner red shoe.
In
real estate and in everything.
There you go. Mariela, thank you so much. We are honored that you took the time to spend with us. We will definitely be looking for your new book that's going to be coming out very soon. And we're going to make sure that we get everybody over to your website, which is theredshoemovement.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, and I wish everybody a very happy search for their inner red shoe.
Love it. Take care. How awesome was that? Do you believe that? Mariela was so cool, and I just love her energy and her enthusiasm and how she is doing everything that she's been doing for 18 years in the world of empowering women. It is just brilliant. It is just brilliant. I love her advice. I love all the things that she's doing. I strongly encourage everybody to go to her website, which is redshoemovement.com. Find your inner red shoe. Isn't that pretty catchy? I just love that. Find your inner red shoe. And I am hoping that all of you have found or will find your inner red shoe from watching this interview. So definitely make sure you check Mariela out. Let her know what you think down below. Give her some comments. Give her some love. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it here at the Max Show. And may massive abundance be yours. Take care.